Around the world, many people continue to suffer from war, natural disasters, and epidemics. In these regions, there are those who are the first to rush in, putting aside differences in gender, race, and ideology to provide medical aid. These are the dedicated members of the Doctors Without Borders. Today, we are joined by Christos Christou, International President of Médecins Sans Frontières, to discuss the global humanitarian crisis and the efforts needed to address them. Welcome to the studio.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so many people might have heard the name Doctors Without the Borders, but I'm afraid if you actually know exactly what it does. So can you briefly introduce your organization and its missions?
Yes, we started 54 years ago in Paris with a small group of doctors and journalists. And what we wanted was to alleviate the suffering of all people, as you mentioned before, those that they are mostly excluded, those that they are mostly vulnerable. And we wanted to do that by also bearing the witness and becoming the voice of all these voiceless. So these days, after 54 years, we are growing. We have more than 67,000 people in more than 75 countries around the world. And we still tackle diseases, malnutrition, we do vaccination campaigns, and of course we deal with natural disasters and man-made disasters, the conflicts.
Yes, of course. Your team actually operate in so many places with the disasters, like you said, and conflicts, and with poor healthcare systems as well. So among these, which regions, in your opinion, faces the most severe conditions right now?
Well, every single place where we have been has its own challenges, and they are very different. There are places where they are in a post-war situation, but still the challenges that they face to access essential medicines, to have the basic medical care are tremendous. And I bring in my mind places like Yemen. It's not in war anymore, but the situation for many of the people is horrendous. In other places that we are, there is a lot of attention by the media, like in Ukraine or in Gaza and in Middle East, and generally speaking. But there are also places that nobody speaks about, and they seem to be either forgotten or neglected. I bring in my mind, of course, Sudan. I've been there several times in the past, and I still see that Sudan is suffering a lot, and there are massacres happening as we speak. And of course, places like Haiti. Haiti, such a political chaos, people living in inhumane conditions, their lives are threatened every day, everything is being ruled by gangs, and nobody speaks about these places.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, being on the front line, you might have seen lots of challenges that others may not understand. So what are the most urgent supplies or supports that is needed to make a real change on the ground?
We always, and that's a very good question actually, because we may think that the response should be something very sophisticated, but it's very basic, it's very simple. These people need to have access to clean water, they need to have access to food, and they need to have access to the essential medicine, and they don't. And I bring again in my mind examples from my visit in Chad recently. Chad is a neighboring country from Sudan. People fled massively after the massacres in Darfur, and what they asked from us and from the whole world was three words: water, food, and dignity. So, and this is actually the role of MSF, to try to stand by all these people as doctors, hold their hands and stay with them and say, we're going to go through this together, and we are going to treat you with respect to your dignity, no matter where you come from, no matter what is your color, your religion beliefs, or any other political beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Right, like you said, providing immediate aids to those people, such as water, food, and medicine, is very, very crucial. But in many places, there are also long-lasting conflicts that makes patients keep coming, right? So what do you think is the major challenge to address a long-term conflict issues?
We in those places that you described, there is one common thing, which I'm really sorry to see that is happening, is the attack also to the medical care itself. After long wars, most of the infrastructure is destroyed, is damaged. People do not have hospitals, they don't have primary health centers. They cannot find a doctor or even a nurse to get their medication for their kids. The kids don't get vaccinated. And when you don't get vaccinated, then you can imagine that there are many other preventable diseases that you suffer from. And people do not have access to food, as we said before. So these are the basic problems that we see in conflict zones. And I will come back to the attack to what we call the medical care itself, because we see more and more hospitals being bombed, and my colleagues or the humanitarian or the healthcare workers being attacked and being killed. And how are you supposed to offer help to populations when you don't have the carers there to do that and you don't have the infrastructures to do that?
Mm-hmm. When it comes to the issue of improving infrastructure, perhaps the long-term solution may be capacity building of the government, local government. Does your organization work closely with the local government as well?
Of course, that's the only way to do, and we always work hand in hand with the ministries of health, and I would say that they must be on the driving seat with us accompanying them. And we try our best also through our projects to train our people, the locally hired staff, so that they gain the capacity to carry on. But again, I think that this is not enough as long as the conflict is going on and as long as there is no support by the international community in these governments to take over and come with solutions.
So Doctors Without Borders is known for being first on the ground and staying for the longest, right? So, but there are many organizations that are facing challenges like budget constraints or shortage of manpower and disproportionate focus on countries. So how do you work effectively? What's the greatest feature of your organization in terms of managing, operating, effectively on the ground?
Yeah. There's one word behind this. It's called independence. Financial independence is very important. Thanks to the millions of individuals that they support our action, we are in this privileged situation not to depend on any governmental money, any governmental funds. We don't take money from different governments and countries. And this makes us always independent and able to assess impartially all the medical needs of the people. And we make choices based on where does the most of the need exist. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, the situation, especially these last weeks, is dramatically changing. We see that more and more leaders and countries from this world are pulling out from their responsibilities towards the humanitarian needs of other people and other places. And we're extremely worried. Maybe we have not been directly affected because we are still financially independent, but what we see out there is devastating. We are extremely worried about this collapse, this total disruption that we witness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm worried that the global humanitarian activities can be, affected by the recent decision by President Trump to dismantle USAID. So I'm wondering if your organization's work is unaffected by this political decision. What's the feeling on the ground?
Yes, as I mentioned, we're not directly affected. And this is already means a lot to us. but I'm afraid that the needs are becoming more and more out there. And it's devastating to see colleagues of ours, other organizations having to shut down their activities. They close hospitals. There are many patients that they don't have access to their treatments anymore. There are many campaigns of vaccination campaigns that have been suspended. And all this means that very soon, not just in a longer term, but also in a very short term, there will be so many tremendous needs out there that we will be asked as MSF to cover. Can we cover all of them? I'm afraid that not. But we will do our best, and we will have to revisit our plans and our projects and see how we can respond to even more of the needs out there. It's not going to be easy. And that's where I think it is important that other countries and new actors come in, not just to fill the gap, not just to support financially, but also to remind to this world how important it is to stand in solidarity to the people that they need us. It is about defending humanity at the end of the day. And this is what is needed more than anything else at this moment.
Yes, of course. Well, now that you're in Seoul, let's talk about South Korea's role, because South Korea has been a recipient in the past and now is a provider. So what role do you think South Korea can play in terms of providing global humanitarian relief?
That's a brilliant question, and that's the reason actually why I'm here, because this country has showed resilience. As you mentioned, they have been beneficiaries. Now they can become the donors, they can become the supporters, and they are. I see how much their humanitarian aid is increasing the last years, and I see that it will be also more increased, but they are also becoming more influential in diplomacy, and you know that very well. South Korea these days is a member of the United Nations Security Council, where there's a lot that they can do, and of course with their financial support, but also with their role in what we call global health, they can really change things. And that's why I'm engaging with the authorities these days here. That's why I'm speaking to students in the universities and to the media, of course, because I think that there's a lot of potential here for South Korea, and especially for all these people that they have gone through all that to show empathy to others now.
So lastly, do you have any additional message that you would like to share with our viewers?
Within these last few days that I'm here, I was really impressed by, as I said, the empathy of the people, by the kindness, by the willingness to really play an integral, important role in the what we call the problems of this world. And I leave this place with this sense of optimism and hope, thanks to your people. So I'm looking forward to my next visit, and I'm really feeling that MSF in Seoul can do miracles. Yes,
thank you. I hope that the spirit and dedication of your organization will continue to gain international attention and support.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.